Welcome to the Elephant
Okay.
TV. My guest today is the Jarso.
Thank you, Abdullah.
Yes, today we will be talking about, pastoralism and governance. And the best place to start is the Pastoralist Parliamentary Group, which was formed in 1988. The membership of the PPG in the 12th Parliament stands at 108 members of Parliament. Could you highlight some of the legislative and policy successes of PPG, but also explain a little bit of PPG for people who do not know what it is?
PPG, as you said, is the full name is Pastoralist Parliamentary Group. This is elected and nominated members of Parliament. They are elected from 15 counties in Kenya, 66 constituencies of the arid lands or dry lands, actually basically dry land areas of Kenya. The PPG, the 108 members include 21 senators, 84 members of parliament, and that includes 27 women parliamentarians and 3 members from East African Legislative Assembly. So that forms the 108 members of PPG. It's now almost over 20 years since they have started. It's working, it's recognized in the National Assembly as a parliamentary caucus. And these members of parliament are elected from through tickets of 11 political parties. It's actually
it's very diverse.
The most diverse working group in the National Assembly.
Yeah.
Yes, and since I think establishment, they have achieved so much, but I want to focus on just this term.
Yes.
This term is called the 12th Parliament in Kenya. Yes. This is the 12th Parliament in Kenya.
Yes.
And it started in 2017, and they are more or less at the end of their term, because I think we are left with how many months more up to August? I think it's less than 6 months.
Yes.
Or 5 months to go.
Yes. Yes.
And PPG members collectively and individually over the last 4 years and a half, they have sponsored 28 bills. 9 of those bills were done by the members of the National Assembly, and 19 by the Senate. There are other policy areas that were of priority to PPG members. Even at the East African Assembly, there are certain policy initiatives that were initiated by the members of PPG. So I will concentrate on Kenyan PPG, the version that is about within Kenya. Out of these bills, maybe I just mentioned for you few of them, not all of them. I can't mention 28 bills,
No.
but I can mention the most key ones. Now, let me start with the one which is top priority during this parliament. One bill which was sponsored by the MP for Mandera North, Major Bashir, Abdullah Bashir.
Yeah.
Livestock and Livestock Product Marketing Board, a bill that was seeking to establish a national board that will look at livestock and livestock products marketing. Initially, the members thought they wanted to establish a law that established an authority, but they agreed establishing a board, just like coffee board, tea board, that will be okay. And they have pushed this law through the National Assembly. It was passed. They had passed it through the Senate. It's somehow stuck somewhere within the Senate. And from there, it's supposed to now move to the president. But I think it's still stuck at the Senate, where I'm a little concerned that it might not be able to go through. The second bill, we will discuss that if you want more information on that. The second bill was a bill which was sponsored by the MP for Baringo, from Baringo County, MP for Tiati, Honorable William Kamket, on Equalization Fund. The bill on Equalization Fund, which was also passed by National Assembly. and it went to the Senate. Just like the other one, it got caught up in this political dynamics.
Yes.
And we were not very successful with that. But the good news is that the regulation that operationalized the fund was passed.
Nice.
And the fund is now operational.
Right.
Just last month, the CS has appointed the board members, and that fund, the Parliament has appropriated funds. It currently has about 45 billion shillings, and it's now ready to go because the board members have been appointed, they have been gazetted. I think they will now proceed with the operation. The third one I want to mention is the bill on change on county allocation. You know, the funds to allocate county. This one was sponsored by Senator for Elgeyo Marakwet, Honorable Kipchumba Murkomen. I think you can remember the debate around, during the BBI, around 1 man, 1 kilometer, 1 vote.
Yes.
For 1 man, 1 shilling, 1 vote.
Yes.
That debate was inspired by this bill. And that's why PPG was very strong in terms of taking a position around county allocations. The other bill I want to mention was the bill sponsored by the nominated senator for Marsabit, Senator Naomi Wako, on a bill called Prevention of Terrorism in Kenya. Yeah. And the other one I want to mention is the bill on prevention of human dignity and enforcement of economic and social rights for all Kenyans. This one was also sponsored by nominated Senator for Isiolo, Senator Abshiro Halake. And the last one I want to mention is the bill on national cohesion and peace building, which was an amendment bill by Senator Judith Pereno. I just want to mention 2 others which are important to this, which is the bill on natural resource benefit sharing. And the other one was, of course, the one which we didn't do very well, I must admit. It's a bit of a disappointment because PPG members failed to stop a government bill after even we agreed on the land value index amendment bill that was passed. The position of PPG was actually to do that amendment,
yes,
and ensure that the range lands are evaluated properly. And my article was inspired by the process of that bill, if you remember.
Yeah, I do.
Thank you. I think that's part of the policy and legislative effort which was done by 12th Parliament, the members of PPG in 12th Parliament. Thank you.
Yeah, no, great. I mean, like that is a lot, although some of it didn't pass. I think the legislators have done their part. PPG has rallied and whipped the membership, but the bill didn't pass for something that is outside their control, or it didn't become a law.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
The other issue that I wanted your insight is the question of drought as a result of climatic shock. I mean, everybody in the pastoral area now are just waiting for if there will be April rain on the back of, the last few seasons that the region has not received rain. What are some of the policy aspects or legislative aspect that, that could be done to cushion some of the communities, largely the pastoralist communities, from the climatic shock of drought and potentially famine?
I think PPG has done a lot of work on the issues of drought. If you remember, I just want to highlight the fact that the NDMA Act, National Drought Management Authority Act, was actually sponsored by PPG in the 11th Parliament by the MP for North Horr, who was by then the Secretary General of PPG, that anchored the authority within the legal and the regulation that operationalized that. And there are other subsequent legislative and policy initiatives that were done, including establishment of funds that were going to look at that, and the operationalization of response, like, instead of giving relief, giving cash transfers to families that are affected. And one of the work PPG is doing is basically putting NDMA work on radar all the time, giving it both political and support and ensure that every time they raise issue, they take it up with the relevant ministries, including sometimes making a special delegation to the president. You remember early last year when the PPG members went and met the president and persuaded him to declare drought as a national disaster. There are also other initiatives the PPG members often do around the drought. And this occasionally you'll see them calling press conference to speak to the public. They raise issues in the parliament around the issues of drought and highlighting situations from specific counties which are affected by drought. So drought issues are on the top priorities. Of course, PPG has set long-term plan on areas they work around. And one of the issues of is around initiative of Kenyans succeeding in strategies of ending drought emergencies, which is anchored and domiciled within NDMA. It's a part of NDMA mandate. It's a regional initiative for Kenya. It's an IGAD initiative, but it is being implemented by NDMA. And we have 5 strategic objectives that PPG has approved, and we are working with that as a secretariat. Of course, I want to highlight the issue about the vision they have set for themselves, which is within the frame of looking at issues of dryland areas. PPG wants to be the critical parliamentary force that ensures security, unity, and prosperity for pastoralists in Kenya. And the mission has been to provide political leadership in the development and implementation of policies and legislation that achieve pastoralism full potential in Kenya and beyond. And within that frame, we've set 5 strategic objectives. One is to end inter-community conflict in the pastoral areas. We're struggling with that. It's not an easy job. We're doing everything within the mandate of the PPG, which is representing the people, speaking about it, making laws, trying to do legislations like the one I've explained, and providing oversight to executive, basically sometimes calling on relevant authorities with the mandate to ask them what is happening and getting an update report about government programs. The other area which PPG has set as a long term is realizing the constitutional and statutory, institutional and policy gains for the pastoralists based on the 2010 constitution. And generally then the other one is advancing the interests of pastoralist women through the policy and legislative process. Within the PPG, there's a very vibrant women caucus that looks at specifically issues of women and girls from the pastoralist areas. And they have developed their own strategy, long-term strategy, looking at specific programs around issues that specifically affect pastoralist women and girls. And the other one that's now linked to the East African level with the Legislative Council is to ensure that the pastoralists contribute towards a more positive recognition, or PPG contribute to more positive recognition of pastoralism in Kenya and beyond. And we are looking at some legislative initiative and policy initiative at East African level, including protocols between countries on how pastoralists can benefit from natural resources across international borders. And the other term, the other one is around internal, which I can leave that as. It's about strengthening the institution of PPG itself. This is an internal objective.
Absolutely. So the other thing that I wanted to speak to you, and you touched about it, was the question of land. You know, I mean, like within the many people's mindset, people think that free land in northern part of Kenya, it's a free land where people go and discover. It's a frontier where everybody would want to go and see. And we've seen large-scale infrastructure projects. How is, PPG involved in the question of land? You spoke about the valuation, which is not done very well, and then denies the pastoralist communities during compensation. So how is that done? Vision 2030, the anchor is large-scale infrastructure projects, and most of them are located in the northern part of the country.
Correct.
And also, if you get a chance, talk about also the Community Lands Act.
Okay. Correct. I think issues of land is critical to the pastoralist, because the main livelihood base for pastoralists is livestock and natural resources within the pastoral land. And PPG has, since 11th Parliament, took community land from the beginning of the Constitution as a priority. And you know, Kenya, land is classified into 3 categories. One is the public land, which is what's normally called state land or government land. And the other one is private land, the small plots we all own, or any other private land owned by large companies, which is done in their title. And the remainder is the bigger portion of Kenya, which is more than 84% of the country, which is community land. And this initiative on land has been on PPG priority since the constitutional reform. And to emphasize on that, community land was categorized as a special and land with equal measure of rights and quality and value. So the value of community land within the law is equal to private and state land. It's not so there was a special law which was enacted, motivated and pushed by members of PPG in the 11th Parliament, and the regulation was passed by current Parliament, a law which you have just referred to, which is called the Community Land Act. And this Community Land Act had 4 purposes. One was to identify all unregistered community land in Kenya. Secondly is to recognize where the community lands, unregistered community lands are customarily belong to the people. And the third one was to protect or register those land under this new law, Community Land Act. And the process of registering that is ongoing. I must say that it is we have now finished 5 years. We haven't overall achieved much, but I'm happy to say that 24 communities have got their titles. Around four counties. 2 communities have their community land title in Kajiado. 8 communities have their community land title in Laikipia, and 10 communities have now their title in Samburu County, and 4 communities have their title in West Pokot. And a lot of other communities are now on the process towards getting the title. They are in different stages. PPG has been working with other members of civil society, county government, national government, to ensure that the process is fast-tracked, and we engage with both the national government and counties to ensure that the registration process is fast-tracked and communities get their land title. And a lot of them have initiated the process. Hopefully, I am hopeful that we had planned, for example, with organizations like FCDC, through one of their projects, which they have agreed to support communities in northern Kenya, at least 10 communities to register their land. I've had discussion with other initiatives like USAID funded program of NRT, which they are thinking of supporting about 20 communities. As PPG, we have been pushing several other civil society organizations to support virus community initiative around. Some NGOs have taken up to be able to support communities. So I'm thinking over next 3 years, the picture will be looking different, because communities have started and their land will be protected. And all these large-scale elements of project they're talking about will have now to be negotiated communities when they get their title, instead of county government, which is currently the custodian of unregistered community land. Unfortunately, for communities like Lamu, I think the process have started because the railway has not started, but the road has left. It's currently almost passing part of Garissa, and those lands are not registered, and it's heading to Isiolo. And Isiolo lands are not being registered, and we know we had a lot of challenges to get this land registered before the road or the railway or the other LAPSET projects arrives on the stage. But we are hopeful we'll be able to engage effectively with the government to be able to ensure that communities don't lose. And I think you remember the hassle about the PPG members with the county government about the legal notice 150, where they declared the whole of Isiolo County is an education area, and I think the MPs went to court to stop that. And this is still ongoing, and that struggle is still on. And civil society organizations have been very helpful around this.
You know, that's great. Finally, I think one of the issues is, you know, we're heading into an election in the next few months or weeks. What is the platform for the PPG, considering that your caucus has got members from various political parties and they have joined several parties? Is there something that brings, despite being in either of the large coalitions, are there things that fundamentally link, you know, the pastoralist communities as we head into the August 2022 elections?
I've just given you a brief highlight of rundown of part of what PPG has done.
Yes.
And that PPG members are sponsored, as currently we are, by 11 political parties. Those political divisions did not affect very much in terms of working together collectively. Of course, it had affected the last 1 year or two. Of course, COVID plus the division between Tanga Keleke process in Kenya, I must admit, has an issue, because every time we had caucus meeting, members would be coming either late, very tired from rallies, or they will come in very unprepared. This has affected in that way, but they're all committed to the cause of. In 2016, one of the things, actually, I need to mention this on air, is that before, when the devolution was created, PPG created what is called Pastoralist Leadership Forum, that brings together the governors, county assembly speakers, leader of majorities, and MCAs, plus the governors and senators and MPs from pastoralist area every 2 years. And we have done this since 2014, very religiously. And the last one we did was in 2019 in Garissa. It was a very successful event. And in 2016, one of the key issues is this question you asked. PPG had a vision that they wanted to create a single, or at least, if not one, but maximum of 2 platforms where PPG members could now run on, political vehicles that they can run on, so that we are not divided within 10 or more political parties. This has not been very successful. Of course, there are a lot of bigger interests. Having more than 100 MPs around one platform would basically say the PPG has capacity to form government or hold government to account strongly under one political platform. So there was a lot of pressure to ensure that doesn't happen. There were initiatives where individual members and collectively, that time, they created political parties. And the leadership during that time was, the president was actually the senator for Mandera, Mheshimiwa Bilo, and Mheshimiwa Mohamed Ilmi who was the MP for Talbach, by then, who was one of the leaders. And Ukuri Athani, who was the governor for Marsabit at that time, took initiative, and they created some outfits that PPG members would run on. But unfortunately, the one which was most successful from that process was the Mandera one, where EFP, the Economic Freedom Party, was created. And it has more than 20 MCAs and 5 members of parliament. Actually, in Marsabit, there's a member of PPG who is from that party. FAB managed to send 1 member of parliament. And then there are other caucus in Isiolo, like 2 of them, the senator for Isiolo and MP for Isiolo North, are also from some of the outfits that were created. And learning from that, I think this season, we had a discussion, and PPG wants to consolidate still around 3 platforms of choice. But lucky enough, the national platform was organized, and that made it very easy. So majority of the members currently are in the Azimio with small affiliate parties, and others are also in Kenya Kwanza.
Yes.
So basically, I think we are still on that path. We have not arrived to the vision that was set by the leadership in 2016, but we are not giving up on that process. It's still a priority. We'll be able to present that report in terms of progress to the 13th Parliament, and they might set it as also maybe a next priority, and we'll have some program and activities around how we can achieve the objective of having platform that will now PPG members will be using in the House, a political platform that we can use for advocacy on issues of pro-pastoralist policies and legislation. We are doing well on that front.
Yeah, it's not an easy job, but thank you so much for your time. It's been really wonderful having this conversation with you.